bienvenue, la breakfast central avec moi, Johansen.
Hello.
Oh, fantastic. You should have said the breakfast in French, though. Petit déjeuner central. Yeah.
Benga, is that correct?
Yes, no?
Say it.
Petit déjeuner. Breakfast.
So breakfast is petit déjeuner. Petit is small.
Yes.
Petit is small.
Google it, please.
Hey Siri.
I did French
Please,
in
what
all
is
levels.
breakfast central in French?
We're waiting.
Ah, sorry. I'll do it again. Hey Siri.
Oh,
Please, what is breakfast central
That's why
in
it's good
French?
to use hand rod.
French.
Central.
Central.
No, it
Hey
says
Siri,
central.
what
Just say
is
breakfast.
breakfast in French?
Yes.
Ah, he's correct. Too. He's correct.
Is
too.
what?
Sorry. You're right.
Guys, don't be doubting me. Oh. I went to very good schools. My parents spent money on me. A lot of cash, man.
So we are petit déjeuner central.
Yeah.
Très bien, très bien.
Merci, merci,
You're
monsieur.
doing very well.
Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you so much,
Mon
my
ami.
intelligent
Yeah,
friend.
well, you're doing very well.
Excellent.
Anyway, welcome to Breakfast Central. On News Central, it feels really good to be back on the airwaves again. I mean, it's Tuesday, day 2, and the week is about to get very,
and I love
very
it when we're
interesting.
complete. It's like we're triplets. The energy is complete. There's something Olive brings. There's something you bring.
Yeah.
You know, it's just one happy family. You know,
And I saw
you gotta love breakfast.
And I saw you
Central.
on socials.
We'll talk about that
I saw
guy
you on
later.
socials. People were talking.
I mean, it's what it is. I mean, even Jesus Christ had haters, so.
And everybody can't
It's just,
agree with the
exactly, you
message.
cannot agree on everything. So
Exactly.
there are always two sides. But what I don't like is, you know, you can get your point across without insults. Some people start. How do you greet somebody with Olori Buruku? I mean, it's who raised these people, man?
Well,
It's terrible.
That's a valid
So we need to do better. I mean, what lessons?
Yeah.
And some of these people are parents. So what lessons are you teaching your kids? It's not a civilized thing. Once I see insults, I can't even engage.
You know
I
what?
will block you immediately.
Speaking about blocking, I block the people that don't insult me. If I go on somebody's page and you're being ratchet and being very disrespectful, I block you ahead, even though you're not my
Yes,
follower.
I do that.
Because going to the future.
Yes, I block
Advanced
you ahead
blocking.
because I don't want your
Advanced
energy.
Interact
Yes, I
with
don't.
somebody like this in the future.
Because there's some people that I see the kind of despicable things they put on other people's posts in the comment sections, sometimes even on the blogs. So the blogs have put up a story, you go through the comment section, I have seen the most really despicable comments. I just click like 1, 2, 3, these are very terrible, I don't want you in my space now or in the future.
Yeah.
And I block you ahead of time. I don't
I
have
do
power.
that. That's a nuclear option.
Bad energy, stay far away.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, there's no bad energy this morning because everything is good.
I
Then
introduce
like
myself.
Everything is
predicted
good. How
yesterday.
was your drive to work this morning? We have to ask you because it's.
I think I'm having this thing where it's called #LightUpLagos, and today is day 2. A passionate plea to the governor of Lagos State, and I'm going to go with it again this morning. So please, to my colleagues, please bear with me. This is a passionate plea to the governor of Lagos State, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. We know that you're very hardworking, and we know that if you really want to do it, you will do it. So please kindly speak to the local government chairman, not forgetting to the commissioner. Please, we need the roads in Lagos State to be attended to. We need the roads to be fixed. We need the lights. So it's #LightUpLagos. Lagos is dark. It is dark completely. And when you have darkness in a state that is touted to be one of the most developed, and you could say commercially viable state, we definitely need it to exude, to show that it's truly what it is. It's a state that never sleeps, and therefore it's also a state that is dark. So please, #LightUpLagos, a passionate appeal to the governor of Lagos State, day 2. Please, let's light up Lagos, and let's also fix the roads. It's
very,
for the,
very
it's for the safety
It's
of
a public
all,
safety
for everyone.
issue. Yes.
Please.
And it's been dark for the longest now.
For the longest
Major roads, vast areas of the metropolis. So please,
Please.
Let's keep Lagos excellent.
right.
Yeah, some good news. Olive, the girls, I mean, who runs the world is
Girls,
it's
girls.
God. After God is girls.
Okay, God and girls. Well,
No,
as
God,
the only
then
girl on
girls.
this show, it gives me great pleasure first to introduce myself because I didn't when my colleagues were doing that. My name is Olive MOD and I'm a tigress. So excited to be here as one of the co-hosts on Breakfast
Tigress
Central.
that is not
You were in
Speaking
Falcon,
about
you were
the
in Falcon last week.
This week I'm a tigress.
Tigress that is not
We also run out of
It no
animals.
matter. It no matter. When one woman wins, every woman wins.
Yeah.
So, President Tinubu has honored the tigress with the OON and the cash prize. Remember that this stirred up a lot of conversations when we announced that they had just gotten their win and how they had become champions at the AfroBasket. And the question was, would they get the same treatment that the Falcons
look at her, look at
had
Wakama.
gotten? Now look at our coach,
two-time
the woman of
champion.
the mirror.
Come on, lady.
Can we take a listen to her?
Welcome back, coach. Yes. Welcome back. Welcome back. Of this success,
I can't hear
wait,
anybody.
one by one. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, let's go. Let's go.
All right, Coach Wena Wakama, what do you think was the key to your success in this tournament?
Honestly, the girls, they came together and they fought. I'm so proud of them. Despite the circumstances, they stood together. We had one dream in mind, one goal in mind, and we achieved it.
All right, now quick one. When you meet a strong opener like Mozambique, Senegal, and we saw that against Mali, the first quarter we always struggle a whole lot. Why do we struggle in the first quarter and gather up pace in the third and fourth quarter? Sorry.
I mean, we're going against, these are other great teams. They're great teams. It takes time for us to also come together, but we're going up against great countries, great players. These are all professional players.
So in your final match this match, I report one of the coaches for what will everything and what did you tell you to make them just
Yeah, that was halftime. So halftime we had a hard speaking. We had to pull it together. We had some unlike things that were not like us. We went down, we were up by 8 and then we lost the lead. So I went to them and said, hey, we have to win this game. We have to, and we did.
OON National Honors for Team. OON National Honors for Team, Coach and Technical Team. $100,000 for each player. It's not yet over. There are other goodies coming. $50,000 for coach and technical team, each member. And wait for the final icing on the cake. 1 plat each for players, coach, and technical team. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen.
Supporters on this side.
I should
Are
have
we
been
not
serious in
also
my life.
getting something?
In my secondary school, when my mates were learning how to play basketball, I should have been serious. By now, you could have been on this show.
I don't know why I stopped
and clapping
playing.
for me.
You
I
were
don't know why
part
I
of the
stopped playing.
clapping team.
No, I remember the only day I managed to try and play basketball on the court. And I was senior prefect. My junior said, SP, you go break. Oh.
So, as fit as you are, you didn't play any
My dear, I
sports.
didn't play any sport. I was a very lanky, slim, tall girl. I didn't do any sport. I'm so sorry. Anyway, but I applaud the Tigress. You can see the head coach. So many wins under her belt. And if I were to go through just a few of Coach Wena Wakama's wins, she became the first female coach to lead the Tigress to an AfroBasket title in 2023, guiding Nigeria to its 4th consecutive championship and 6th overall. During the Paris 2024 Olympics under her leadership, the Tigress also achieved historic milestones, first African basketball team, men or women's, to reach the Olympic quarterfinals. She earned Nigeria's first Olympic basketball win in 20 years in the game against Australia. I could go on and on. She was named best female basketball coach of the Paris 2024 Olympics by FIBA. The list goes on, but just to say congratulations to our ladies, to see that now Nigerians can calm down. Those who were asking if they would get the same treatment with the Falcons, you've seen they've gotten their flats, Officer of the Order of the Niger, which is the third highest national honor that could be given to a Nigerian for their excellence and their brilliance in sports. And they've also gotten their $100,000 US.
Well, while people are celebrating, let's see what the reactions are on social. Let's see what Nigerians are saying. Pastor John, while responding to the SSA, to the president, he says, our retired soldiers, I think he wants to say, and policemen are crying for their pension, but the president is extravagant with our commonwealth. I hope you can all see how rich Nigeria truly is until it comes to development. Suddenly, there's no money. They borrow endlessly and still claim Nigeria is broke. Salaries and pensions go unpaid. And again, they say there's no money. Yet the federal government spends in dollars within Nigeria, just as if the American government were spending in naira in the US. What a reckless and misguided leadership we have. The poverty and underdevelopment in Nigeria are not accidental. They are deliberate. But they deceive the people, calling it temporary. Binga.
Yes.
You did talk about the use of dollar.
Yeah, because, I mean, we're in Nigeria, and the government is always preaching the fact that we shouldn't dollarize our economy. So I wonder why this cash gifts are dominated in US dollars. This is a sovereign country, we're Nigeria. We spend naira. So if you're going to give gifts, you should give it in naira. But I guess the authorities know better. But let's see. Of course, there'll be reactions. Other reactions from Echoes of Nigeria says Super Falcons and the Tigers in total have received almost $3.1 million. That's about 5 billion naira plus lands and houses. Remember, there were about 50 to 60 individuals. Your dad, mom, uncle, who served Nigeria for 35 years, is still struggling to get paid a pension of 2 million naira after serving Nigeria for 35 years. Wow.
Right. I mean, there's so many angles to this conversation that we're going to have to highlight, especially when we look at the other conversations that we have. But Henry MD Don P says, thank President Tinubu of Shabiati for this great honor to our girls who have chosen to represent, sacrifice, and honor their country instead of speaking evil of their own country, like one party leader in the UK, a.k.a. Kemi Badenoch.
You are the one that called the name. I said, now you say that.
This move will motivate Nigerians to stand up for their country.
Let's touch on that last line that he said there. This move will motivate Nigerians to stand up for their country. So, let me say...
section of Nigerians.
Exactly. However, let me say that statement is a bittersweet statement. This is the first time in the history of Nigeria where victory has been received with both warm and cold hands. So we're receiving
normally victory. Everybody celebrates.
Everybody. I mean, if you go back to Atlanta 96.
Yes, the prizes have been modest, well deserved.
Thank you.
But this is $100,000.
Someone did the calculation. There are almost how many billion gone?
$3 million.
And truly, if you look at the entourage of that team, there's a media, there's a press, there's a fitness, there's a physiotherapist. Everybody on that team in football and basketball, they amount to a very huge number of persons that make up that team. And you cannot deselect some and then say, oh, because you're just the players, we're going to focus on you. It has to cover and go around every single person. However, like I said, this is the first victory that we're receiving as a nation that we've done absolutely well. We celebrate the girls, and we would say kudos to the presidency for what they've done. However, like I've said, it's been received in cold and also warm hands. Warm hands in the sense that people are now saying, okay, while you're doing that, is the timing right? Is the priority okay? And you're doing
the mood in the nation.
You know the funny thing, you're doing it within the week, because I was looking at it, it's between 3 weeks when the police went on a protest, if you recall, it was just 3 weeks ago, and then that same week, the following week, you doled out the cash to the girls, the Super Falcons.
It's dollar rain in Abuja. It's raining dollars in Abuja.
So it's in the middle of protest, in the middle of dissatisfaction from the nurses, the doctors, and so on. And my question would be, if you were the president, how will you handle this?
I mean, yesterday, some retired soldiers were protesting in Abuja, and I was reading comments. Don't worry, when all the soldiers stop working now, it will be, you'll start having falcons and Tigers standing behind the president.
I don't know, Nigerians.
Who talked about
our comments too?
Okay, so I'm going to again piggyback on what you said, that there are those who have received this warmly and those who have received this coldly. while I would like to say congratulations to the Tigress and to the Falcons for making us incredibly proud, and I'm so excited for their win. I'm glad that they're getting to receive their flowers. But then again, we also look at Nigeria's sports sector. Are we rewarding the end result and forgetting to empower the process?
The process.
What we see is we like to celebrate wins, grand gestures, one-off grand gestures. But these are the same athletes. I mean, these are the same sportsmen and women that would often have to pay out of pocket. Sports budget is underfunded. We're looking at people who oftentimes have to protest about their salaries and remuneration not being paid for months or years. So while, I mean, it's also another angle to look at, ask ourselves, are we using sports as a public PR tool, you know, to make the government look beautiful? Again, congratulations to the girls. I'm happy that they each get this money because they deserve it. But let's not also overlook the other ones who are behind the scenes. If you look, a number of these people, a number of these women who are part of the team, some of them were not people who grew up and worked here in Nigeria, and that's not criticizing them in any way. I'm saying this to say we need to create an environment that encourages sportswomen within Nigeria to thrive and be a part of what is happening on the global scene and be able to represent Nigeria on the foreign scene. We don't want situations where they start here in Nigeria and before you know they are harvested by other countries who see their worth and who have, you know, eligible grounds for them to thrive.
So permit me to quickly jump on this train you started. And if we say it, it's going to make a lot of persons shed tears. As we speak now, there are many basketballers who are crying while the celebration is going on. And let me explain
just
why.
go to National Stadium soon.
That's where I'm going to. Let's explain why. In case you do not know, for our viewers who are watching, while this is seen as a very laudable gesture from the presidency, do you know that the Nigerian Professional Female Basketball League, which is the Nigerian Basketball League, the Female Basketball League, has had one sponsor in a long while, which is Zenith Bank. So it's called the Zenith Basketball League. The federal government has been at loggerheads in terms of the body, which is the Nigerian Basketball Association, which is supposed to take care of the basketball league, both for the male and the female. There has been a tussle that's been going on for as long as you can remember. And these basketballers, number two, most of the girls who won this tournament for us, they don't ply their trades here in Nigeria. They ply their trades outside of the shores of the country. So outside of the shores of Nigeria, they are catered to, they train well, they play in the leagues, they play in the colleges, but the ones back home here are being given bread agege with their akara, and then you see them in the stadium training, putting their effort. So these are the ones who will be disgruntled that while the president is rewarding the hard work done, not for respect to them,
we need to look at the administration.
The president should also look into the people that are representing the country and the grassroots.
The entire sports administration.
Which is very key. And that's the dark side of this. So maybe in our I trust the sports team, and I know that our sports team
fantastic
would
angles,
also like this.
lady and gentlemen. Fantastic. You've hit the nail on the head, and hopefully it's a wake-up call for us to have an all-encompassing look at our sports sector.
Yeah, we don't want to
in
just
general,
have like
and it shouldn't be, because what she said is, you're rewarding the end result. You don't know how it started, and we should also build a grassroots. So, I mean, it's motivation. Just win by any means necessary. Forget all the akara and beans. Just win, and your reward will be waiting for you in Abuja in dollars.
Okay, let's now move on from that story to our next story. And there has been cries for help intensifying around the country as flood has engulfed Lagos communities. Yesterday, we had our reporters from different parts of the country. It was a heavy downpour in Lagos, Nigeria, and we could see the result, cars, houses engulfed in floods. The resultant effect we'll start to see from today with those who drive the Mercedes-Benz brand. A number of them are going to weep because, you know,
but mechanics will be smiling to the bank.
Mercedes and floods don't do well at all. And then the mechanics, of course, you know, so it's not been the best of times.
Goodness.
These are pictures of what the reality is in communities. Ijebe, Yaba, you know, Ikorodu, Agungi. Yesterday we saw Bernard, you know, reporting from Agungi. So it's really a very, very crazy time. There are those who, of course, made the funny jokes about how I want to live on the island, I want to live on the island, sea island. But it's not just the island that was
Even
plagued.
the mainland.
Even the mainland, again, brings about a question about how do we deal with these floods?
Flood preparedness.
How prepared are we? NIMET had warned about floods that were going to, that was going to take over communities in this season. How prepared were we? Is it a case of our drainages being blocked? Is it that, we don't have infrastructure set to ensure that these waters escape? In a number of estates on the island, what they do is that once it starts raining, they have devices that pump the water out of the estate into, so what betide you if you are the compound or community beside them and you two cannot pump out?
But some have canals at the back of their estate, so they can pump there. But it's really terrible since I can imagine what people went
look at this car.
yesterday. It's really, really terrible. So there are two sides to it. There's, okay, do we have enough urban planning? Have we done a fantastic job in urban planning? Preparing for this? Do we have storm drainage channels? Do we have proper drainage systems to be able to deal with this volume of water when we have record rain or consistent rain? There's also the other aspect that people say, you really can't handle this sort of situation. They point to New York a few weeks ago where there was heavy downpour and the subway was flooded. They say it's an act of God and you really can't plan against this. But, I mean, God has given us the wisdom, He's equipped us with everything we need to deal with these sorts of situations. And also, Lagosians and Nigerians have to be more responsible.
Yes.
Stop throwing trash.
Thank you,
The open drainage is not, it's not garbage disposal site. Yes, we should be more responsible.
Especially because we're seeing that the effects of climate change is getting stronger. If you notice, when the weather is hot, it's hotter than it used to be when we were growing up. When it rains, the floods we're seeing now, I don't think we ever saw this level of floods when we were growing up. So we're seeing more intense weather conditions. And it's not just in Nigeria. Around the world, in the UK, we hear them complaining of extremely hot summers, extremely cold winters. So even as the effect of climate change is taking place, we must be prepared on our own parts. It's why the Tokumbo Wahab will oftentimes share videos of people who are throwing dumps, who are throwing their trash into the gutters. If you're one of the people who throws trash into the gutter, you are doing it and you are a part of the problem that we have. See this tweet by Tokumbo Wahab. He says, "We have seen the trending video and fully understand the concerns it has raised. I want to assure all residents of Ikorodu that the ongoing drainage project in that area awarded by Governor Jide Sanwo-Olu is designed to provide a permanent solution to the problem. In the meantime, I have directed the contractor to immediately commence excavation work toward the discharge point and to prioritize the construction of culverts. The concrete lining, which is part of the broader project scope, will continue once the culvert work is stabilized. We sincerely apologize for the inconvenience residents are currently facing. This is temporary. What we are doing now is laying the groundwork for a permanent fix that will improve the quality of life for everyone in that area. We're committed to building infrastructure that works and endures. Hashtag Cleaner Lagos, hashtag Greater Lagos."
Fantastic communication.
And that was, of course, his reaction to this video that was shared by residents in the Ikorodu community of Lagos, talking about the flood and how, obviously, the video needs no explanation. You can see for yourself.
You may be wondering why we're clapping, and we're clapping because that is what we call a reactionary,
effective communication.
An effective way
there's
to handle
empathy,
crisis.
He's talking about what they're doing about it and the future plans.
That's crisis management.
Kudos to the Commissioner of Environment, Lagos State, Mr. Tokumbo Wahab.
That's how you handle it, and I think he's done well. If he had kept quiet, then there will be a problem, but he came out and spoke about it, and that's why we're saying well done. Good way to handle situations like that. However, let's take reactions and see what Nigerians had to say about the flooding. If you were in some parts of Lagos, you would understand. This is a proper way to communicate with people you serve. Not looking for the evil man that insulted your land and whatnot.
Okay.
Meanwhile, things like this would be good for the Civil Engineering Department of LASO and Unilag to come study and proffer solutions. Help the students become real engineers and in turn help the nation. Why I like your statement, I think you should run away from the ethnic bigotry you try to add into that conversation. It's not necessary. We're going through a lot, so bringing in the Igbo man into the situation does not add any iota of importance. More than 16 years of APC in Lagos, a mega city that did an IGR of almost 900 million. Let me correct you. let me correct
did
you.
almost 900 million naira,
no,
not dollars.
Let me correct him. 1.4 trillion.
Exactly. In naira.
1.4 trillion naira. Take note. Because we want you, don't be using dollars. Everybody's using dollars now. All right? Didn't have a proper drainage system. We have not even talked about sewage system. Oh, shame, no, they catch you now. Well, you do have your concerns, and I think this is also one to register. Been talking about similar issues like this in Lagos for long. It's not about Lagos, it's a fundamental Nigeria issue. Pastor Adeboye was right. Our problems need spiritual intervention. I'd say no, it doesn't.
Exactly.
It never does. It will never. Once the rain stops, it might be forgotten and then will cause wahala again next year. That's from Obina, who said that. Toye Joseph says, I sincerely don't understand why the environmental team will pack the drainage and leave the dirt. This is my biggest problem in Lagos.
We see this a lot. As you're packing it, they should be clearing it immediately.
I accosted one of them. I said, Ejo, Emabino, in my small Yoruba.
It sounded so...
And he said, they want it to dry up.
So
that when it dries up, it will turn to, then they come and pack it. I'm like, but you people are doing it when it is raining. Why didn't you do it when it was sunny?
So that's my reaction
clean it up on time.
The tweet by Tokumbo Wahab. I understand the tone, the empathy, and being able to respond to the professionalism. However, the question is, the things that are causing this issue, were they there before now? Was any move made to sort it, to ensure that it didn't degenerate into this? Could we have avoided this? And how do we ensure that we're not having situations where there's a negative outcome or a negative reaction, and then Nigerians come out to cry, and then we have a very polite response, rinse, repeat, and nothing is really done? Are we going to have to face this issue again? Because the rains will still come.
I mean, in fairness to the Lagos State government, the Lagos State Ministry of Works has this department called Drain Dogs. They go around to desilt gutters and clear waste from time to time, even during the dry season. But like Joe said, the problem is sometimes they leave this waste there without packing it immediately, and then it becomes a hazard to road users and all of that. We need to step up, knowing that climate change has intensified extreme weather patterns. We need to do this all year round and step up. And I mean, it feels good to live in an area that is not flood prone, because I can imagine what people, especially Agungi, I did a shoot there a few weeks ago, and it was really, really terrible.
It's terrible. And don't forget, too, that once it rains, you expect that the tide and the water, of course, will rise. And let's not forget that Lagos, some parts of Lagos is an island. Whether you like it or not, those on the island, Victoria Island, Sandfield.
And this is a part, this picture on our screen, this video rather, it's off 3rd Mainland Bridge.
Yeah.
And I
remember
think
they had mentioned,
artificial...
Yeah, they had said they were going to get the contractor who was filling this place. It's been months yet, they haven't still mentioned, the contractor and why. But then again, what we're saying is Nigerians brace up. Nibet has said that it's going to be a 3-day rain, it will still rain. So expect that. I think this is where you start thinking of virtual work. If you could work from home, please do. Some people didn't go to work yesterday.
From Ghana.
Some didn't go.
It's virtual work. So I'll do Breakfast Central from, the airports there, and then show you what's happening. And one nice
no, it won't have the same feel.
No, it will have the same feel. I'll be giving you updates. Charlie, I'm here in the Accra region of the continent.
Speak to management. Let's see if it works.
By the way, Ghanaians have said Igbo must go. That's a conversation for another time.
That one,
Meanwhile, while the president was celebrating the basketball, the Tigress, some people were angry. They started protesting yesterday.
Well, they were not angry about the Tigress. They were angry because they're demanding their outstanding dues, and rightfully so. Again, we see this play out in different sectors of the economy. The nurses and the midwives asking for certain doctors. We see this happen.
The teachers.
Police. This time around, it is the ex-soldiers. You can see them, 3rd, 4th quarter voluntary discharge soldiers of 2023. You can see a number of them out there asking for a change. But let's take a look at this video, and when we come back, we'll share our thoughts.
Justin. I got more tired. I'm of first and second quarter. The Shell Soldier 2023. We are here coming to request we are here Minister of Finance, demanding for our short payments of our gratuity, ASD, and other retirement benefits and entitlements that the Ministry Pension Board and Army Authority has denied us a very long time. As you can see, there is board, they have an idea to take our points we are requesting for. And right now we are in the Ministry of Finance office. The office has been locked down. The day has been locked down since morning. Nobody goes in. But right now, our delegates are discussing, negotiating with the chairman, pension board, and other authorities and finance authorities. Thank you, sir. Well, as you can see, these short payments, they paid us since last year.
I mean, these sort of videos are heartbreaking. These are men that have committed life, sweat, and blood to the defense of Nigeria's territorial integrity. And it's been a tough time for soldiers in the last 15 years. Since the advent of Boko Haram, they've lost so many of their colleagues. It's not an easy job to do. Your life is constantly at risk. And they serve their nation to the best. And what you expect is, you know, things should work seamlessly. Once they're retired, they should get their gratuity and all payments that are due to them. But unfortunately, it's one bureaucratic issue or the other. We saw them in front of the Nigerian Ministry of Finance trying to get it. I mean, it's somebody's job to make sure these processes are seamless. So why are they not being paid? And I don't think it's a money problem.
Just so you understand what their key grievances is, it includes non-payment of statutory entitlements, which includes shortfalls in gratuity, security debarment allowance, parking allowance, 43 months of unpaid salary arrears, wage award palliative payments, additional 32,000 monthly pension increment. So obviously, the retirees claim the Military Pensions Board refused to honor adjustments tied to the new national minimum wage because they were discharged on July 4, 2024, before the budget capture. So
it's heartbreaking.
Well, the country can afford it, right?
Yeah, so with the previous tweets we've seen, people have said since you can award the Tigress and the Falcons, then you should be able to pay their monies. But let's hope that the presidency will do the needful, and we're going to urge them to try as well to look into the cases of the nurses, the doctors, the former military, and also the police.
I mean, these soldiers are people that gave their life to serving their country, protecting their country from external aggression, and the very least they deserve is getting what they are entitled to. That wraps up our wake-up conversations this morning, but now we're getting into the top stories. So let's share with you the top stories we're looking at this morning. Obedient movement petitions Peter Obi over alleged ADC snub. That is one of our top stories this morning. And still in the political arena, PDP leaders at odds despite Wike's crisis over claim. Well, is it really Uhuru in the People's Democratic Party? The Lagos fraud crisis sparks conversations as residents fume, and the government calls for calm. Nigerians react to bill forcing public servants to use public institutions. The newspaper front pages, of course, will be reviewed this morning, and at that point, we'll open the phone lines for you to call in. Stick with us. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Members of the Obedient Movement have formally petitioned Peter Obi, alleging marginalization within the African Democratic Congress-led alliance, the ADC. The memo dated July 29th and signed by National Coordinator Dr. Tanko Yunusa accuses coalition leaders of systematically excluding obedient loyalists from key meetings and decision-making processes.
Listing the grievances, Tanko cited lack of inclusion in major deliberations. According to him, none of Obi's loyalists was deemed good enough to share a table with the ADC decision makers. Several of our designated representatives and members were reportedly excluded from crucial meetings where major decisions affecting the coalition are made. This creates an impression of marginalization and undermines trust, which is essential for building a sustainable partnership, he lamented. Join us this morning on Breakfast Central to discuss this is a member of the Obedient Movement, Justin EJ. A warm welcome to you, Justin. It looks like there's trouble in paradise. I mean, it's barely a few months since this coalition kicked off, and we're already seeing it's getting a bit rocky.
A bit of fire on the mountain.
Yes. So could you share with us what the issue is with the obedient movement and the ADC at the moment?
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me. There is no trouble in paradise. All is well within the movement, and I would like to put
within the movement.
Yes.
I'm talking about ADC. Yes,
I
the
heard
coalition.
I heard you. I
Yes.
heard you loud and clear. So here's the thing. People need to understand that the obedient movement, first of all, is not a political party, at the risk of stating the obvious. We are not a political party. We are a movement that has coalesced around the person of Peter Obi. Peter Obi is our political party. Peter Obi is the reason why the movement exists. Peter Obi is the reason why we do the things that we do. The coalition is a work in progress. Obviously, there's the stages of forming, norming, storming when you're trying to put a team together. These things will happen. But let us not dwell on what is typical for when you're trying to put a group together. There is no problem that rises to the level of being called a trouble in paradise, is what I mean by that. All is well in paradise, if we will call it paradise. What we want to avoid is extending this situation where we ignore, in Nigeria, as Nigerians, we tend to leave the substantive issues and focus on politicking, nitpicking, hair-splitting, and bickering. We need to elevate the discourse. We need to elevate the conversation. There are things that need to be talked about. Elections are still a few minutes away, if I may put it that way. But we have 18 million children out of school. We have runaway inflation. We have lack of transparency in governance. The government of the day is not even focusing on governance, and it seems as if elections are next week, right? So we, as obedient movement, want to keep the focus, number one, on the young Nigerians and the adult Nigerians who believe in our principle, who share the same values that we share. And now that is the thing that underpins the coalition. Let us not focus on minor frictions, which at the end of the day will be resolved. But what I can tell you is that we are focused on telling the Nigerian people what our principal has done, what he intends to do, and where we're going in the new Nigeria that is possible.
Okay, so where does Dr. Yunus Atanko fall into the picture? Was there a petition to Mr. Peter Obi?
What I will say to that is this. There may be ripples of disaffection amongst people, but the leadership of the obedient movement is focused on everything that I just said, including Dr. Yunus Atanko, right? So people may say one or two things and do not believe everything you see out there. At the risk of not divulging much, because there's a lot that's going on. There's a lot of sensitivities that are surrounding the issue. But I can tell you that Dr. Yunus Atanko is focused on what I just said, which is the mission of building out the obedient structure. Over the past few months, we have gone around Nigeria mobilizing people at the grassroots, right? Sensitizing them on the need to be responsible civic citizens. That is what the focus is, inclusive of Dr. Tanko himself.
All right, so that alleged grievance, are you saying it does not exist?
Substantively, no.
Okay, then how did this come to the media? You think it's fabricated gist?
There's a lot of false information that is flying around. I can tell you that for free.
All right. There was a memo to that effect, so that means that memo, you're discrediting the legitimacy of that memo.
I haven't seen this memo, except in the legitimate obedient communication channels, this memo does not exist. But there is a document flying around on social media. Has it been cascaded in the channels where we formally communicate as a movement? It doesn't exist there.
All right.
Right.
Well, what we're going to just look at this information and, like you said, maybe say it's not coming from the obedient movement. There are talks around the possibility of the obedient movement fully supporting Peter Obi in the ADC. Do you think he stands a chance of getting that ticket? I mean, look at the names. If we run through the names, there's so many political juggernauts. One of them is Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, who has indicated his interest to run. And then you also have some very powerful names under that same political party. The obedient movement, are you not afraid that it would just be a waste of time? trying to join the ADC?
That's a very brilliant question. I'm glad you asked it. Let me take you back to 2022 in the months and in the year leading up to the elections, when they said that the obedient movement was 4 people tweeting in a room, when they said that we did not have a structure, when they said that Peter Obi had no hope and a prayer in the election, when Peter Obi was denied the ticket of the PDP and when he left. And then let's fast forward to the election itself and post-election. Assuming without conceding that Peter Obi indeed scored 6.1 million votes, which is what we woke up and INEC had declared, without having one single governor, without having one single senator, without having a structure, we are not afraid of anything. We did it before. And if anything, Nigerians are way more aware, way more awake to the issues of the day. There are people vying for the ticket, obviously. Like I said, it's an emergent situation. Conversations are ongoing. But I can tell you what Peter Obi has said. Peter Obi has said that he will be running for president. Not as anybody's vice. Peter Obi has said, if anyone asks you, tell them that I'll be running, and I'll be running for president. We cannot have a situation where the driver becomes a conductor. Right? He is eminently qualified to run for office. That doesn't take away from any other person's right to vie. As for the obedient movement, Peter Obi is our political party. Peter Obi is the vehicle for Nigerians. We are running for office through him.
But you can't run with the name. You need a party to ride on.
Exactly.
Obviously.
And Peter Obi has not yet resigned from the Labour
that brings
Party.
me to this question. I'm glad you mentioned the party, the vehicle, because Mr. Peter Obi seems to be caught between
Labour Party
and a hard place. And in that Labour Party, there are internal wranglings. There's the Bure faction who don't see eye to eye with him. And then in the ADC coalition is going up against political juggernauts, and there's no guarantee that he will emerge as the flag bearer of the ADC. So where does that leave him politically as we inch towards 2027? And honestly, next year, politicking will begin, and elections is just past the first quarter of 2027. So what are his strategies, or what happens if, you can't go back to your base, Labour Party, and then you don't emerge as the coalition candidate in ADC?
It's very important in contemplating these issues that we do not establish a false premise for the conversation. Peter Obi is a member of the Labour Party today. The coalition is not... the coalition is a statement of intent. Come elections, we want to work together. That is what the coalition represents. Peter Obi has said categorically he is and remains a member of the Labour Party today. The intention, the hope, the aspiration, because it will also be foolhardy to speak to tomorrow as if I were Nostradamus, right? But the aspiration of all of us, the intent of Peter Obi, is to secure a ticket to run for president come 2027. I don't know if that answers the question.
So to push back on that, you've said the intent of Peter Obi is to secure a ticket to run for elections come 2027. I think, again, the question is, under which umbrella is Peter Obi going to do that run? Is it under the Labour Party's, umbrella sounds, but is he running with the Labour Party?
There are no umbrellas or brooms in this conversation.
That's why I took that back. So is he running with the Labour Party, or is he running with the ADC? The ADC itself is a political party. And Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has taken a brave move to resign from the People's Democratic Party and fully align himself with the ADC.
If you've been following the statements coming out of the coalition, out of the ADC specifically, they have exempted certain members of the coalition from the requirements to resign from their parties.
Oh.
Yeah. So that speaks to the question that you ask. Again, I will not dwell in the realm of speculation, but I will state categorically what intent and aspiration is. as declared by the principal himself, Peter Obi.
And how does he intend to have, I do know he's very popular in the southeast and many parts of the
He's very popular in
southwest.
Nigeria.
So how does he intend to have a pan-Nigeria mandate and to have the buy-in of northern Nigeria, for example, and the Middle Belt, and I mean, do better than his last outing, which was beyond many people. It took a lot of people by surprise.
Peter Obi scored, again, by INEC records, over 2 million votes in the north in the last election. You're aware of that. Let's dead this narrative that Peter Obi is not popular in the north. That is setting up a strawman argument. Every time people bring it up, I'm like, what are you talking? Are we in the same country? Were you here for the last elections? He scored 2 million votes in the north. So in which north is he not popular? Did you see the 2 million? Peter Obi campaigned in every state in the country during the last elections. Did you see the turnout? So that's a false premise. Peter Obi is not looking for popularity in Nigeria. He is the standard today.
You said he's a standard. You said, I mean, the vehicle's going to run on. Of course, he's still a member of the Labour Party. We've looked at this. But Peter Obi, that's Mr. Peter Obi, saying that he's going to run for only 4 years, which is 1 term. I mean, who makes such statement? Looking at the fact that, I mean, many would always point fingers to Nelson Mandela and say, oh, Nelson Mandela did 1 year. Of course, he put a legacy down for everyone to copy. But is it possible to turn the tides around in just 1 term? And I'm sure you're aware of the Anambra State governor currently, who has increasingly, in a way, mocked Mr. Peter Obi, telling him clearly that that's impossible.
You know, this is one of the things we have normalized in Nigeria, where there is an expectation that when you get into office, there's an entitlement to stay there for 2 tenures. No, that's not constitutional. You have a right to run for re-election, but the Constitution says you have a 4-year renewable tenure. When you're elected into office, it's for 4 years, right? Mm-hmm. You're supposed to seek the mandate of the people again after 4 years.
So in other words, Mr. Peter Obi would, after he's done with 1 year and he does very well, he would seek the mandate to go for a second year.
Listen
or
to
he
what
would just
I'm
come
saying.
down and say, I'm done.
He has said what he's going to do already. That's where you started from. Mm-hmm. He has said, and he didn't just say it, he said it in 2022, that I will run for 4 years. And to your question, is it possible to turn around the country
in 4 years?
In 4 years. I raise you Argentina. The president in Argentina has been in office for 2 years.
2 years plus. Elected in August. President Tinubu was elected in May.
Thank you. It is focused, intentional leadership that is required to set. Government is a continuum. Peter Obi is not saying, hey, I am going to turn Nigeria into some utopia in 4 years. He said, I will fix the institutions. I will fix the foundation. We have foundational issues in this country, right? We have foundational leadership failures. We have institutional failures. Look at our public institutions. Everything is running on fumes. You don't need forever to fix it. We have had governments in this country. We have had administrations in this country that set us on a right course in very short times. We had the late Shehu Musa Yar'Adua. Right? We were here in the Obasanjo years. We saw what focused, intentional leadership can achieve. You don't need forever. If you can destroy in 2 years, you can build in 2 years. You can build a foundation on which a superstructure can be imposed upon. So, 2 things. Number 1, we have to normalize the idea that when you're elected into office, it's for 4 years. And that we are going to evaluate your performance in office after 4 years. We're not going to have a bunch of sycophants telling us, oh, he's doing well. The emperor's clothes are beautiful. Meanwhile, the emperor is walking naked in the marketplace. That is what we've been doing, and it's not working. That's what got us here. Peter Obi is saying, I want to fix this, and I don't need more than 4 years. And I believe that we don't need more than 4 years.
Justin, what do you say to critics of Mr. Peter Obi that say, you know, he's fond of demarketing Nigeria? Is very pessimistic and never sees anything good done by this administration or the country in general? Is it a strategy, or is just the way things are?
You see, again, we confuse sycophancy with patriotism. A government is an agent of the people. That is what democracy is.
It's working for the people.
It's working for the people. If the person you are working for says, I don't like the way you're doing this thing, this is how I think it should be done, I don't think that is demarketing. I think we can start to talk about the things that demarket this country. I think we can talk about people who have all sorts of legal baggage, internationally and locally, or sorts of scandals tied to their name that makes the rest of us Nigerians, when we go out there, look like, they don't come again. Criticizing constructively, which he does, because every time he says, listen, this is wrong, he also says, this is how this should be done. This is how it was done in XYZ country. I have been to this place, I have been to that place, this is how they did this, and I think this is how we should do this. That's not demarketing. Is it?
I don't think so.
Thank you.
Okay, I would ask again your concerns about some of the, I know we do not deal in the realm of speculations, but many have assumed that the bold move of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar to leave the PDP and fully align himself with the ADC might imply that the ADC structure is set up to throw his weight behind him and make him the presidential candidate of the ADC. Do you share these concerns?
I do not think about those concerns. They do not concern me. And I'll tell you why I say they do not concern me. I have my work cut out for me in the obedient movement. I've been working with the mobilization director. I've been working with Dr. Tanko. We have a lot of work to do before we get to the elections. And the one thing we see is Peter Obi is coming. And we need to prepare for him coming. Everybody else has a right to run. Everybody else has a right to prepare to run. But like in 2023, we will meet at the polls. So what is going on in the ADC, I cannot speak to because I'm not in there, and I'm not giving, to, like I said earlier, I don't necessarily believe everything I read, right? Online, there's too much online.
You're
information
not in the ADC,
over there.
are you in the Labour Party?
Yes, I am in the Labour Party currently.
All right, you confirmed to us about Senator Nadi Usman. I mean, the court situation where she's been officially declared as a faction, rather.
Again.
Or it's something we shouldn't read in the media too.
Words mean things. You spoke of a court judgment, which was delivered by the Supreme Court in April.
Yeah.
As we speak, this is the thing I spoke about, weakened institutions. The Supreme Court has spoken about an issue concerning the Labour Party. The NWC, the neck of the party, has come together and said, okay, we have a leadership vacuum. The court says go and sort it out according to the party constitution. And they have appointed Senator Nadi Usman as caretaker chairperson. INEC has somehow failed to get the memo. As far as I know, engagements with INEC have led to we are still looking at the judgment. And I ask myself, the Supreme Court has spoken. If you disagree, what are you going to do?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. You have no option but to comply. But for some curious reason, INEC is non-compliant. And so when we say there's a faction in the Labour Party, it's a head-scratcher for me because what faction? The legal position is clear. The party organs have done what they need to do and appointed an interim leadership under which I serve. And we are going ahead to do the things we need to do. But there's mischief at play. We saw the last LG elections in Lagos, for instance. There was a lot of engagement with INEC to clarify what the position was for the records. Because if you go on the INEC website, you still see Julius Abure's name there. And that then becomes the source of truth. Because his name is on the website, then he's the chairman. Okay, so elections were coming, the LG elections were coming. The Lagos State chapter of the Labour Party engaged with INEC, with LASEC, with everyone, and met a brick wall. After the elections are passed, you now turn around and say, oh, we don't recognize all the candidates of the Labour Party. So it's like somebody is throwing a stone and hiding their hands afterwards.
And that's the argument that Abayomi Arabambi has put forward, talking about who does INEC officially recognize as the Labour Party chairman. Last week we had Abayomi Arabambi on the show, and in sharing his thoughts about the Labour Party, especially His Excellency Peter Obi, he said that they would release a can of worms, that there were certain things that His Excellency Peter Obi did before the elections, and that, you know, if he doesn't take care, they would unleash mayhem. They would release
if he doesn't
everything.
resign in
if he
48
doesn't resign
hours
from the Labour Party, they will release everything to the public, and that they were aware. He asked for, we asked him to prove it, and we asked if he could prove it in court, and he said yes, he can prove it in court. What do you say to Abayomi Arabambi and, you know, the faction that he leads in the Labour Party that have vehemently criticized Peter Obi and said that he's not actually a member of the Labour Party?
You know, the reason why I'm an obedient is that I truly value the values of Mr. Peter Obi. And one of the things I've learned from watching him and how he interacts with issues and with people is that he doesn't join issues with individuals. He addresses issues, he addresses the matter of the day. And I will toe the same line here. People are free to say, it's a free world, whatever they want to say. One thing that's very obvious about Mr. Peter Obi is that his character is unimpeachable. As far as we have seen, I do not know of any other political actor in this country who has been under the kind of scrutiny that the man has been under. I do not know of any other political actor who has made the kind of bold claims he has made. This man has said, if you find one thing anywhere that impugns my character, I will, he said it during the elections, I will step down my candidacy. I don't think he has changed, he has gone back on that. If you find anything, release your can of worms, release your boat of anacondas if you have them. The man has dared you and he has said, I will stop running. So why are you yapping? If you want to shoot, don't talk.
That's the scene of the movie, eh?
That is a response to Abayomi Arabambi and the team. We did have him on the show, and again we asked, what is your proof? You can't make such strong allegations without proof, and can you defend this in court? To which he said he can. But Justin Ije, thank you for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central, and all the best as we count down to the election.
See you at the ballot.
See you at the ballot. Well, I'll probably be on air that day. I don't know that I'll be having a ballot. I'll be voting. All right, we're going to break now, and when we come back, there's more to come this morning on Breakfast Central. Please stay with us.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Next, we unpack the latest twist in Nigeria's opposition politics. Minister of the FCT, Minister Wike, has declared the PDP crisis temporarily over following what he calls the exit of buccaneers from the party, noting that his firm resistance against impunity led to the shedding of PDP's excess baggage. The minister, however, insisted that the outcome of the recent South-South Zonal Congress of the party would produce Chief Dan Obi as its national vice chairman must be accepted in order to stave off another round of crisis.
But beneath the surface, there appears to be concerns raised over the faith of the party hanging in the balance, especially over who should fly the PDP flag in 2027. At stake, we have stakeholders in the party that have been clamoring for the return of former presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, into his fold, or the consideration of former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan as a strong contender. But dissecting this story is the former special advisor to President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan and member of the PDP, Comrade Jude Imagwe. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Good morning. I think we should start with the latter part of my statement. Those who are clamoring for the return of either His Excellency Peter Obi or His Excellency Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, the former president of the country. Do you think that that's an option on the table that will be considered or that should be considered?
Yeah, first, anything about politics is about winning. And winning usually comes with strategies, planning, and taking a whole lot of variables into consideration. No political party will want to approach any election with the intention of losing the election from scratch. So if the options available at the moment to the People's Democratic Party is either the return of President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, my boss and principal, to the ballot to see how the party can return back and gain its stay over the ship of Nigeria, or the return of also our former vice presidential candidate, who eventually became the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, to our fold PDP. And the reasons for these two considerations are tied to, one, first, their personality. Their personality is one that is appealing to the conscience of an average Nigerian and the major population of the Nigerian voting strength, which is young people by demography. The second aspect of it, again, is their track record. Their track record in the sense that at least they have things that they can be evaluated for. President Goodluck Jonathan can be evaluated by certain parameters, ranging from his total acceptance of opposition, his quietness and his calmness to opposition critics, his empathy to societal worries and concerns, his love, his style of leadership, and the level of progress economically that the country recorded during his administration. Now, I will take them one after the other. I will start with former governor of Anambra State, the immediate past presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Governor Peter Obi, His Excellency. Peter Obi represents a tie between three generations. The generation of above him, his own immediate generation, and the generation below their generation, which again has a huge population. His commitment to visibility and human empathy has endeared him in the minds of so many people. You can't take that from him. And his humility is one of those weaknesses that he has used to deepen into the heart of an average Nigerian. So an average Nigerian in the street sees him as somebody that is going to be listening. They see him as somebody that is going to demonstrate every sense of empathy. They see him as somebody that is not going to be wasteful. They see him as somebody that is not going to bring executive rascality into governance. They see him as somebody that has the potentiality of changing the narrative of the Nigerian state in the global and economic community. They see him as somebody that can represent us adequately academically and being outspoken. These qualities and ties are working for him. And that again is something that is also going to be needed on the ballot for campaign. But to the extent at which the party that he finds himself is able to sell this narrative to the Nigerian people again becomes another duty of the party that is going to be flying on as a presidential candidate. The second thing that is significant is his new dimension of political comment. He now maintains that he's going to be given, if he's given an opportunity, he will be running for a single tenure of 4 years. That on its own is the threat the northern part of Nigeria are actually nursing, that if any other person outside President Bola Ahmed Tinubu gets its way on the ballot from the south, the person may be tempted to do 4 years of tenure, 8 years of tenure. That's after the first running to complete the 4 years that should have been completed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, if otherwise happens after the 2027 election. The person may be tempted to come back after then, and then that sense of fear is there. You cannot blame any region to entertain such kind of fear. So that is one of the things he will be dealing with. So people will be judging his track record of consistency of promises, his track record of keeping to agreement, and his track record of owning to what he has said and keeping true to it to the end. That is for his part. And now for the part of my principal, President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, there are a lot of things that will work for him. A lot of things that will work for him, starting from the fact that statutorily, he's mandated to do only a single tenure of 4 years. So there's no negotiation in that area. He's not going to be promising anybody that I'm going to do 4 years. Whether he likes it or not, the Constitution is clear about that. He cannot exceed more than additional 4 years. So that is an advantage to his person on the ballot if that happens. The second is there is this degree of trust that he shares, most especially from the northern extraction. I will state clearly without contradiction that outside the late President Buhari, another person that the Northerners can believe will have that empathy, sense of total commitment to Northern region, sense of inclusivity to Northern region in governance, sense of openness in Northern regions, to the Northern region in governance and to Nigeria at large, somebody that is going to approach governance without victimization, somebody that will not be coming to governance with burden of bitterness, hatred, and vindictive action is President Jonathan. That will work for him. The other part again that will work for him is what were the legacies he had before and that has been jettisoned and have thrown Nigeria backward. Where was he? Where was the economy of the country when he steered the ship? What were we having in our markets? What were we having in our educational system? What were we having in the health sector? And what freedom were people having to exercise in the right of expressing themselves? Were people having that liberty to accuse government and still go free, go to their houses to sleep without harassment or anybody coming after them to withdraw them thereafter? These are things that will be counting.
Okay.
And when these things
now, Comrade, if I may comment at this point, you've highlighted so many things in your opening statement, but from what I deduce is that you wouldn't mind the former president of Nigeria, former President Goodluck Jonathan, and Peter Obi returning to the fold of the People's Democratic Party. And as we speak, the FCT minister says the crisis is temporarily over, and we've seen the exit of the former Vice President, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Do you think the PDP, why do you think the PDP will be the most viable vehicle for them to seek elective office? I'm talking about these two individuals, former Vice Presidential candidate Peter Obi and also former President Goodluck Jonathan. Knowing that the FCT minister is a member of the PDP and he has openly declared his support for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, if these people return to the fold of the PDP, don't you think he will be working against their plans?
Well, let me start from the end of your narrative. That he has openly, the FCT minister, the former governor of Rivers State, if you mention that he has openly declared his support for the incumbent governance by the way of his performance in FCT and the way of his working in FCT, does not also summarize the fact that there could not be changes. Part of the reasons why everything had happened the way they have happened were the internal crisis we had in the party. You must not pretend, nobody should pretend that we're not having a very deep-in crisis in the People's Democratic Party. There was crisis that at the time we had anticipated was going to consume the party. But because of the robustness of our internal working mechanism of the party had remained strong. We have been able to resolve crises. We have come from deeper crisis than this, and this is not going to be an exception. Yes, persons have left the party, and I state clearly without any form of hesitance that those that may have left the party may have also left the party to give us the opportunity to have a very strong reflection. Strong reflection in the sense that if these people have left this party, what do we need to do different to make the party accommodating, to make the party enticing, to make the party acceptable by the Nigerian people? And that is the part the party is doing at the moment. They have left, yes, we cannot say they have not left with substance. Yeah, because one vote in any electoral balloting system is huge enough, could make a difference. I have conducted a primary in Gombe State, a senatorial primary, that the candidate that emerged won just by one vote. So one vote is significant, and one vote can make a difference. So if we have a number of votes that have left the party, we must not pretend that it will not create any disharmony. It will not also affect our foundation. But again, it's to the extent at which we are able to wake up to make these changes, and that is what the party is doing. If the FCT minister says that the crisis is temporary, yes, we have not said that we have cured the entire problem immediately. There are still concerns that still needs to be addressed. Certain factors needs to be brought to the table. But one of the greatest things that I feel that has happened to the party is that those certain persons that have masqueraded themselves as gatekeepers of the party, they may have now left and gone to somewhere else, where those that actually have the true intention of seeing the party grow will stay back and see that party grow. We are going to have a very strong reconciliation. Every person's concern, including that of the FCT minister and those of the NWC and those that he has differences with, will be brought to the table. I have always maintained there is no way you can arrive at a successful negotiation without allowing people express themselves. And there is never a time that a negotiation can be 100% favorable to one side. A winner must not have it all. But what is done is that there should be fairness, equity, and understanding that everybody must know that these are your concerns, these are what had gotten you angry, these are the steps that the party will be taking, this is what these other persons will be leaving behind, this is what you two should leave behind, so that we'll meet at a middle point and forge the party on. But I'll tell you in all sense of honesty, PDP is seriously repositioning itself. PDP has learned from everything that has happened, particularly with the exodus movement of people from the party. People left and the foundation was actually threatened. But again, it is to the extent that we are able to bring ourselves together to forge the party ahead and to see how we can make it appealing to the Nigerians. There is no serious opposition party that has a spread than the People's Democratic Party. The only thing that stands outside the People's Democratic Party that has that strength is the personality of Peter Obi, and not a party. It's his personality. And so that is why any platform you find him, that platform begins to have another level of acceptance.
Well, let me ask this. Just a few days ago, better still, over the weekend, your principal did put out a statement on Instagram, which kind of like indicated his return. Of course, using the movie-like post, which saw him as a transformer. I'm sure many Nigerians did see that, and that got some very excited. Many were, starting to peddle the information that it seems like the former president is ready to jump into the political ring. Can you share with us here if he's really going to do so? However, while that is one question, the second part of my question would be, you did mention that Mr. Peter Obi and your principal seem to be a good fit. Now, if they choose to both run, who will be president and who will be vice?
I don't know if the network seems to be glitching. It's not the glitching of the INEC, but this glitching that is occurring is not the glitching of the INEC.
Okay, that's fine.
It's the glitching of
let me put myself and make it as short as possible.
Yeah.
My question is, I said your principal, former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, did put out a post on social media which portrayed him as a transformer, the movie-like transformer, and that has gotten a lot of persons excited. So my question is he looking to get into the political ring again, the election ring? That's one. Secondly, if he decides to run, you also mentioned Mr. Peter Gregory Obi. If they both decide to run, who is going to be the president and who's going to be the vice? Because Peter Obi has said that he is going to be president. Are we going to see President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, the former president, now run as a vice?
Not like he's running.
I'm just saying. I mean, yeah. if they both decide to go.
No, they are not running anywhere. They are contesting an election. That's the funny part of it first is that they are both from both regions. And it's obviously going to be difficult to have them running as president and vice president. But I can tell you one thing for free, that If for any reason, for whatever purpose and intent, my principal has a change of mind to be on the ballot, I will tell you the presidential candidate of the Labour Party will give President Jonathan every support he needed. They have a very close relationship. I do not see how presidential candidate of Labour will want to be on the same ballot on a separate party against President Goodluck Jonathan. That I can say to the extent at which I know. And again, on the second leg of it, as it is today, I will not pretend there are serious pressure on how my principal can accept to come back to the ballot, to complete the remaining of his 4 years, to at least redirect the Nigerian state of affairs, to also re-strengthen and rekindle our unity that is almost depleting, and to see how we can get ourselves back and surface in the global and international community. That pressure is huge. That pressure is tough, but that is not a decision I can make for him. It's a decision that he himself can have a reflection on. It's a decision that he himself can get convinced on. And it's a decision that he himself, as a father, as a leader, whom have seen something before and have sat outside the space for 12 years, at the 4 years of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, will make it 12 years away from office, may have learned so many things that he should have done otherwise, may have learned several things that he should have done in a way that he did them differently, and have also learned so many things that he wants to bring different. If he chooses to make that decision, we will know, and the Nigerian people will know. But as it is at the moment, I will say, yes, there are pressures on him to come, but the decision on whether to be on the ballot is his. Ours is when he takes a decision, we also take a decision of what we need to do. But again, I do not also think that President Goodluck Jonathan and presidential candidate of Labour, His Excellency Governor Peter Obi, will be on the same PDP space to struggle for ticket. If President Jonathan and presidential candidate of the Labour Party eventually finds themselves together in PDP, you have one thing to be rest assured. Peter Obi will give President Jonathan, if he eventually says he wants to run, all the fullest of support he needs to emerge as president, and from there they can together. He must not also serve as the president. He knows then that the man steering the ship of the affairs of the country is one whom he can talk to, is one whom he can also throw his policies, directions, and suggestions to, believing that those things will be yielded to, and those things will be put into practice for the actualization globally for the Nigerian peoples to benefit. So that is clear, that is true about it. It's a decision that he has not told me that he's made, but again, I'm fully aware that there are a whole lot of pressures around him to take the responsibility, to step forward, and to accept that. The parties are approaching him just the same way the party is also approaching Peter Obi. There are conversations. The party is trying to weigh all these options and see how we can get things done. Since certain fears of those that have attacked the party have also now given the party some degree of breath, fresh air to breathe, and their legs are off the neck of the party. So the party will begin to breathe well and begin to think well too.
Okay, I think my final question would be your thoughts regarding the ADC as a viable tool to stand as an opposition at the 2027 elections. What would you say the chances of the ADC are? And would you say that they are causing the current administration to maybe sneeze or catch a cold?
Or giving them sleepless nights.
Yes, opposition is critical to any position, and that is why it is democracy. Before you begin to discuss opposition, it means that there is something that has positioned itself. And where we stand today is the APC that has positioned themselves as the government at the center. Now, the coming together of different persons, different stakeholders, that has given birth to ADC is not alien to our democratic space. But what is different is the manner to which they want to propagate and carry out this thing. The difference between what it is now and what it was then in 2013 is that in 2013 it was political parties that came together. Political parties collapsed as structures and came together. And that was why in the ballot of 2015, what you could find was just two political parties majorly fighting for the survival of the election. And at the end of the day, the APC won. Every other political party, they aggrieved people from PDP, they left as new PDP. The APC came, ACN came, APP came, CPC came. All political parties came, and that is why I feel that is the major approach to actually unseating a positioned government. It is ethically going to be very difficult, except we are deceiving ourselves in pretentious explanation. It is ethically going to be difficult politically to see a divided opposition unseating a united positioned party. It was tried from 1999 up until 2011. It didn't materialize. But in 2013, when they had this collapse of every other political structure to form just one, just for the purpose of unseating the incumbent and taking power, wrestling power, it saw the light of the day. From 2025 up until 2023, you see how oppositions have been struggling. Imagine if there was just one political party that contested against APC in 2023 election, having the likes of Ravi Kwankwaso, having the likes of Peter Obi, and having the likes of Vice President Atiku Abubakar on one political party, having all these votes harnessed together, the story would have been different. So I think it is also very dangerous for us to toe that line again in 2027, as a build up to 2027. Yes, there is this freedom of you associating, freedom of you to decide where you want to be. But that freedom should also be tied to the purpose to which you want to achieve. If you want to achieve a self-driven ambition and thinking that there should be depletion of political parties and you can achieve that, I'll tell you for free, take it to the bank, it will not bounce. You will never get that done. For us to actually have a position party that can unseat the incumbent government, every opposition party, including the likes that have found themselves in ADC, must have to come back to the table to go to like what Amos 3.3 say, can two work together except they agree. That sense of reasoning must be brought back to the center table and put the Nigerian people first, if it is not self-driven or if it's not personal. So ADC, yes, they are raising up. I see their spokesperson, former Minister of Youth, Abdullahi, coming up and explaining at all times what they are planning and what they are doing. They are unfolding their programs, they are doing everything, and yes, it is the duty of their party to do that. But you could see that immediately from the foundation, there is still crisis of ownership, crisis of is the party united, crisis of who owns the party, crisis of this party is not yours, this party is ours. So these are things that, because the foundation itself was not properly constituted or thought out.
All right, Comrade Jude Imagwe, thank you for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central to share the next steps or the hopes and aspirations of the People's Democratic Party. Like we always say, we wish the PDP the best.
Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you.
Too. All right, this is still Breakfast Central. Many conversations to come, but we'll go on a very quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue with the discussions. Please stay with us. The rainy season is upon us, and like every other year, it looks like Lagos is back to its flooding days. Monday's rain brought parts of Lagos to a halt as flash floods disrupted movement, submerged roads, and left residents stranded for hours. The heavy rainfall, which began overnight, affected both the island and mainland areas, crippling businesses, activities, and causing severe traffic congestion. Residents expressed frustration over the recurring flood problems, accusing the state government of inaction despite repeated complaints. Few took to social media to share videos of their flooded roads, homes, and cars.
Well, in response, the Commissioner for the Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab, has called for calm, stating that Lagos had resilient systems in place to manage flash floods, though the volume of rain could temporarily overwhelm the drainage infrastructure. He attributed the flooding to the coastal nature of Lagos and the impact of tidal lock, which hinders drainage during heavy rains. Meanwhile, Nigeria's meteorological agency, NIMET, has warned of a 3-day widespread thunderstorm and heavy rain across the country, which began yesterday. Joining us now is respected and international environmentalist, Mr. Desmond Machakodumi, joins us this morning. Welcome to Breakfast Central.
Thank you.
Let's start off first with the rains. It's not been palatable. Some people couldn't go to work yesterday. Some are still nursing the pain that came from having a flooded home or house. You've talked about how we should manage the environment. Can you narrow down to what the peculiarity is with Lagos State and its drainages always getting flooded, what the environment is telling us, most importantly, especially with this one-day heavy downpour?
Yes, well, these heavy downpours are now being reclassified by the Secretary General of the United Nations as rain bombs. Oh, yes. He said the reason why they're reclassifying them as rain bombs is because the volume of rain that is falling at certain times far exceeds the normal expectation and far exceeds what we have been used to, simply because there's far more water vapor in the atmosphere, and that water vapor is eventually going to fall as rain. So we're getting these rain bombs. And, you know, the typical example is what happened in Mokwa, I think it was just last month. Yes, rain that would normally fall over a period of 6 months fell within 6 hours. And this has been happening in other parts of the world. Yes, it happened in Texas, similar kind of thing. The one that fell in Valencia, Spain was even worse than that. 1 year's rain in 8 hours, boom, it overwhelms everything and anything. And what we experienced in Lagos was a small rain bomb. There are bigger ones than that, as we've already seen. And this overwhelms whatever natural systems are there. It overwhelms whatever divine developed systems that we put in place. Like the Commissioner of the Environment said, if you have water that is a bit high, because you know the tides go up and down. The ocean rises and then it goes down a bit. And this, of course, affects the lagoon tides as well. So when the water wants to evacuate after the rainfall, if the tide is high, the evacuation will be very, very slow. And this is basically what happened to our dear Lagos, who, by the way, is one of the more vulnerable places in the whole world to climate change. But what we're seeing is the classic example of climate change manifesting itself. And what is climate change? Basically, it's nature fighting back. Because one thing about Mother Nature, whatever you give her, she's going to give you right back. And that's what's happening to us right here in Nigeria, right here in Lagos.
Now, talking about Mother Nature, you did talk about the rain bombs, and I mean, this is an act of nature. We really can't do a lot to stop it. But the Lagos state government officials often cite coastal geography and tidal law as excuses, but to what extent has unregulated construction, sand filling of wetlands and drainage encroachment exacerbated what might have been otherwise manageable natural risks?
Excellent question. Because even prior to the rain bombs, just, you know, the regular heavy rainfall, we noticed that we're getting a lot more of this flooding happening in Lagos. Because mainly we have been impacting on nature's system. The reality is that this planet, this wonderful tiny blue marble in space, and that's all she is, a miraculously developed little blue marble, has perfect systems for maintaining her equilibrium. And one of those many, many systems is right here in Lagos with our mangroves. You know, the Lagos areas, especially around the Lekki, the Peninsula area, and parts of Badagry and certain other areas, we have mangroves, this mangrove swamp. And these mangroves have this wonderful ability to absorb a lot of the excessive rain, because you always have, you know, at certain times, heavy rain, not so heavy rain, and that's obviously what's been happening in the past. And one of the reasons why we didn't have too much flooding is because nature was allowed to do her work, to absorb the rain in the mangroves, and then they now release the water a bit more slowly through the root zone, through the transvaporation, the leaves and all that. And in the process, even helps to purify the water and also provide a place for aquatic fauna to thrive. That is, you know, the crabs and the snails and even a lot of the fish would come to the mangroves of Lagos to breed. But what have we been doing? Human beings, with our technology, we have to develop. And unbridled development has been one of the major causes of the kind of tragic consequences that we've been experiencing in Lagos. Development that was not even approved. Development that certainly should not have been approved if it was. The audacity of thinking, oh, this is development, we must take over this land and make some big money from it and don't sandfill the whole place, and meanwhile you're causing chaos with nature's system. Yes, this is one of the major issues. But now, because it's no longer just a normal rainfall, we're going to get the occasional rain bombs. The consequences of this are going to be far, far worse. And there's just no justification for doing this kind of thing. How can you be just unbridled sand filling of mangrove areas? We've been fighting against this for quite some time, but now nature is joining the battle. And believe me, you cannot win against Mother Nature. Let me ask you all a question there in that studio. Would any of you think of slapping your mother?
That's absolutely impossible. I mean, you've talked about us not being able to win a war against Mother Nature. But so maybe is it time for us here to declare some form of a climate emergency and maybe get some support, global funding and support to be able to deal with the after effects that climate change might bring or is bringing in the form of these rain bombs that result in flash flooding and the likes?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, the timing of that question is very, very relevant, because the reality is that a lot of this problem that's causing the excessive rain that has been classified as rain bomb, a lot of it was not caused by us. It wasn't we in Nigeria, it wasn't we in Africa who contributed the vast amounts of the greenhouse trapping gas. That is the gas there that traps the heat. We call it the greenhouse gas, mainly the carbon dioxide. It wasn't us. It was the industrialized nations that have been causing this for the last 150 years. Well, we have now joined in, but not nearly to their extent. But a lot of us on the African continent, especially the West African continent, we're very vulnerable to the results of this. Coastal erosion is a terrible thing that's happening to all of us along our coast, again, because the oceans are hotter now, they're warmer. And so when you heat water, it expands. So the oceans are rising and they're becoming more sort of violent in terms of the wave movement, which is causing erosion. However, if Nigeria, as the giant of Africa, can come together with our African brothers, especially along the West Coast, come together and speak with one voice of unity at the forthcoming conferences. There's one coming in November in Brazil. It's called the COP conference. They have this every year, and it's very well attended by the heads of state of most governments. And once we can come together and make a very polite but very firm demand for funds that should be forthcoming for us to be able to adapt to the problem that has been caused by the industrialized nations, and also to mitigate, we stand a good chance of getting some of those funds to come and help us. However, one of the things that's standing against us is that they've been saying for the last few years, because we've been making this demand, that, okay, well, if the money comes, where will it go?
And that's a good area. That's a good area for us to probe. I want us to probe deeper into the past COP that we've had and the impact that it's had so far. But we're going on a very quick break. And when we come back, that's an area we'll be exploring. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still looking at the latest rain bombs that have hit different parts in Lagos and have resulted in floods that have unfortunately affected houses, cars, and individuals alike. We're joined this morning by environmentalist Mr. Desmond Majekodunmi. Thank you very much for staying with us. Before we went on the break, I had asked you about if it's time for us to declare a climate emergency that would require us to get funding, global funding, to be able to combat the effects of climate change. And you said a very affirmative yes, stating exactly, especially the COP that's coming forward in November, and if we all can lend our voices to ensure that we take a very strong stand against climate change. However, in the past years, we've seen some criticism leveled against COP, particularly the fact that many have said it's more performative and it hasn't given Africa a chance to be able to, get some form of protection, and it feels very, very, checkbox, ticking checkbox lists, ticking things off a checkbox. I beg your pardon. So, how would you rate the past COPs that have happened, the impact it's had on Nigeria? And if you think that maybe Africa should create its own platform where African leaders can come into the room and generate homegrown solutions for an unfortunate problem that we contribute the least to, but we feel the effect the most.
Yeah, it's the whole COP thing. It's quite complex, and it's a reflection of where humanity has been for centuries upon centuries, and without the COP, things would definitely be a lot worse. It could be a lot better. Just like without the mother organization behind COP, the United Nations, things would definitely be a lot worse. In fact, without the United Nations coming into place after the Second World War from the League of Nations, probably we would have experienced massive nuclear semi-annihilation. It was the United Nations that was able to really bring down the firm gates against the proliferation of the nuclear armaments by giving an expression called MAD, mutually assured destruction. And this also applies to what's going on with climate change. Because if we continue this way, we will not be able to stop the process of the degradation that is going on with the environment. We call it environment, but what is it really? It is our life support system. And it's a miraculously, perfectly balanced life support system that works intrinsically in harmony with itself. It's a miraculous system. I mean, if you just look at the various amounts of gases that are there in the atmosphere, which, by the way, is a very, very thin little layer. The thickness of our atmosphere, it can be sort of analogous to the thickness of the skin of an apple. That thin little layer of gases, very, very different types of gases, but they're in specific ratios, including the CO2 that we had referred to a bit earlier. This is what makes this planet the only habitable planet that we have come across amongst the millions that we've been able to observe. A very special place indeed. So the COP conference, it started some time back now. And it started because the scientists were able to appreciate the fact that we are messing up this incredible atmospheric gas combination, and it is causing problems. And a lot of talking as usual, because the people that have come in there, they're still driven by personal interests. They're still driven by, me, even if you want to expand it, my nation. But remember, these are the leaders of the nation, and a lot of them are there for personal interest, which is what has caused the problem in the first place. Otherwise, how else will we justify continuing going down this road of massive pollution of the atmosphere, of emitting these types of gases that are causing these terrible, terrible problems? Just the gas alone that comes from burning fossil fuel, it's a dirty gas. Now, if I put a little generator into that studio, you wouldn't allow me to turn it on, would you?
Now, Mr. Majekodunmi, I mean, critics of COPs will say it's just a talk shop. But let's talk solutions. Are there global models of coastal megacities, let's say Jakarta in Indonesia, Mumbai, or even New York, that Lagos can look to for integrated flood management? And crucially, do we have institutional will to apply those lessons here, are we stuck in a cycle of performative crisis management?
Excellent observation and great question. Yeah, it's a lot of talk. Because, you know, blah, 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 hot air, there's so much hot air that comes out of the COP, which is similar to the kind of hot air that you get out of so many of the parliamentary delegations, you know, when they hit in their various houses of assembly. Yeah, they are global cities that you could learn a little bit from. You know, Amsterdam, New York, Dubai has tried, although the conditions offshore are a little bit different. And what we need to do, we've already showed that we can't do it with the Eco-Atlantic. It's a massively expensive intervention, bringing, you know, millions of dollars worth of giant boulders and stacking them up. But it can help, and it needs to be done. It needs to be done. Because, you know, the climate change is not going to go away. And it certainly won't go away if we're just doing this talking. But the reality is beginning to sink in, especially to the young people, because it's their future that is at stake. And also, there's a few of the elders within the system, like the Secretary General of the United Nations. He appreciates the gravity of the situation, which is why in the 2015 COP, he told them, he said that mankind is waging war against nature, and this is suicidal. Okay? And as a result of this, and this shows the type of leadership that so many of the countries in the world are unfortunately subjected to, because as a result of that 2015 COP in Paris, the leaders, including our own president at that time, signed a treaty to reduce the CO2 emissions. They all agreed, oh yeah, you have to reduce it. We can't be on this suicidal march. And there's a reason why he said it was a suicidal march. Because there's a point of no return. If you continue breaking down these systems, eventually you won't be able to stop them from the continuation of their breakdown. Because these systems are natural systems that will sequester the CO2. But you break the ability for them to do that. And it triggers off all kinds of terrible, terrible conditions that become unstoppable. And that unstoppability is in about 10 or 15 years. Anyway, at that 2015 COP, they all signed, oh, we're going to reduce it, we're going to reduce it. Signed, though, not just talking this time. Signed and agreed. By 2024, because they have this COP every year, the Secretary General of the United Nations, who had said at that time that this is a crisis, he came to the COP and he said, oh, ladies and gentlemen, it's no longer a crisis. Everybody was there. He shouted at them. He said it's an emergency because this treaty that you all ratified, this treaty that you all signed, including our own president, to reduce the CO2, it has never been so high in the thousands of years that we've been able to assess from geographic samples, geological samples. And by the way, the average temperature of our planet has never been so high since measurements were taken in 2024. It had never been so high, and that was right on the back of 2023. And what was causing global warming was the pollution that we have all agreed to reduce. So it's not just a talk show, but it's an exposure of the hypocrisy and the lack of caring and the total sort of addiction to sense gratification or pride and so on of so much of our global leadership, which has to change. And the young people are going to rise up and demand that this change comes about, because what are we doing? We're impacting on their very life support system, which if we continue much longer, will have unstoppable and catastrophic consequences. So at least the talking has started, you know, even though it hasn't availed much, and at least they're making some sort of commitments, even though they're not sticking to those commitments. But if the media organizations like you people who are exposing the truth, who are exposing reality, if the media can come strongly behind it and not allow themselves to be coerced or be dissuaded, you're going to have to be brave about this, because what are we doing? We're fighting for our children's life. We're fighting for it, and we've already seen some of the terrible catastrophes, the awful things that these rain bombs can cause. What of children that were swept away in Mokwa? How do you think it feels to see your child being swept out of your window by a flood? The same thing happened in Texas. The same thing happened in Valencia, Spain. But the silver lining on this very, very dark cloud, and it's a bright silver lining, is that it's going to bring humanity together, especially if the media organizations can stand firm and stand brave and bring out the reality and the truth of this matter and expose it to our population. We shall make the necessary changes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Desmond Majikodumi, for your insights on this very important subject. We do appreciate the time you spent with us here on Breakfast Central this morning. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, you're watching Breakfast Central, News Central Television. We'll go for breakfast headlines, and when we return, we'll continue our conversation. Do stay with us.
The proposed legislation before the House of Representatives seeking to prevent public officials and civil servants from patronizing private schools and healthcare services with the aim of restoring public confidence in the nation's institutions has continued to generate reactions from both stakeholders and citizens. While some rights groups have publicly supported the move, many Nigerians have expressed diverse views over the bill. Our correspondent Idong Joseph reports.
For decades, Nigeria's public schools and hospitals have battled neglect, underfunding and dilapidated infrastructure, while public officials often opt for private or even foreign alternatives. But a new proposal at the National Assembly could shift this long-standing practice.
The penchant for patronizing private educational institutions and healthcare services were alien to our democrats of old, but today it has become an unwholesome trend for both public and civil servants.
The bill, titled A Bill for an Act to Prohibit Public and Civil Servants from Using Private Schools and Health Care Services and for Related Matters, seeks to mandate public officials and their immediate family to patronize public health and education institutions. According to the sponsor, the aim is not punitive but reformative, designed to raise the standard of public hospitals and schools to match the private and international counterparts. Many Nigerians have welcomed the proposal, describing it as long overdue and a step toward bridging the trust gap between citizens and public officials.
It will be a very good bill if it will scale through, because what we're having now, schools, it's not called schools. They are poultries. Most of our schools are like poultries, where you see the ordinary people, children sitting on a barefoot school floor learning.
When you are talking of overseas, many of them who are working for overseas, are they not Nigerians? Many of them are Nigerians, and they are doing well. Let them encourage them.
However, there are growing concerns about the bill's viability and whether it will survive the legislative process.
Our prayer, let God touch them. Let them pass this bill. If not, let me tell you the truth, this bill cannot go anywhere. When the person they are supposed to execute the law is found to be corrupt, what do you think about the ordinary common ones?
While there are fears that the bill may face strong opposition during House deliberations, many Nigerians hope that if it becomes law and enforced, it could mark a turning point for public institutions that have long suffered from systemic neglects. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Well, that will take a lot for them to actually pass that bill, and I wonder what the public's reaction to that will be. And if there'll be warm acceptance, I'm sure the people that would accept this will be the regular Nigerian folk and not the politicians themselves. But let's move on to other stories. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Minister Wike, has warned ground rent defaulters to comply with the payment directive from the FCT administration or be ready to forfeit their properties to the administration. Wike, during his monthly media chat with newsmen in Abuja, says that several warnings have been issued, with President Bola Tinubu even intervening on the matter. However, many defaulters are yet to pay their dues. He says that the administration will not entertain any blackmail but will resist attempts by defaulters from denying government their due revenue needed for capital projects.
Very soon, I'm going to seal up all those property. I'm going to seal it up. You see, you can't deny us of the taxes we use for development. You are talking about here now, health sector. You are talking about here, education. You're talking about what have you done in other social... You have to, what are we going to do with it? With what? With what? You want this. Pay us the taxes that are supposed to be paid. He said no. And you want us not to do anything.
You're watching Breakfast at quick break, and when we return, we'll bring you more news, more stories, so stay with us. Now, on the 10th of September 2024, the Alau Dam, situated on the Ngada River near Maiduguri, collapsed after heavy rains. This triggered floods that submerged roughly 70% of Maiduguri, claiming at least 150 lives and displaced thousands of families, despite the approval of 80 billion naira by the Federal Executive Council for the Alau Dam's reconstruction. Progress remained minimal for months. News Central's Umaru Kirawa assesses the flood situation in Borno, challenges and the plans by government to review its master plan.
The September 10, 2024 sad experience of flood in Borno State, one of the worst disasters that the people struggle to survive. This is amidst the humanitarian crisis, further compounded by the years of Boko Haram and ISWAP security challenge. As predicted by NIMET, selected communities in Borno also witnessed flooding. Among the most distressing consequences was the exposure of graves in some areas due to soil being washed away.
The only solution we have now is to identify these areas where houses were built on waterways, and people that built houses by the riversides should also be evicted. My call to the governor is to please help us connect most of these drainages to bigger rivers within the states.
There have been anxiety and criticisms of slow implementation of the Alau Dam reconstruction and upgrade.
Government has a lot of processes. Years before, we have some certain concerns that the work is not quite, but the contractors have now fully resumed. We have nothing than to commend the federal government of Nigeria, commend President Buhari, President Tinubu, because he has approved about 80 billion.
The Borno State government has announced plans to review and update its master plan, integrating flood resilience and water infrastructure priorities.
We must go back to the drawing board and then look at the master plan and ensure that all tributaries, all waterways shall be cleared so as to allow inflow of water to the main canals, main rivers. This is the only way. And then we must impose some certain environmental standards. It's very painful, but I believe we have no option. It's better for us to safeguard, take some certain measures, early warning measures.
Stagnant flood waters in some communities, poor sanitation, and unlinked or unconnected water channels are some of the threats the government and people of Borno have to tackle. With the Alau Dam reconstruction works on the go, collective effort by both government and the residents is said to be critical in tackling the flood threats in Borno. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Welcome back. Breakfast Central is a show, our final lap, the last hour, and definitely it's the front pages of the newspapers. With us, it's the publisher, the niche newspaper, Mr. Ikechukwu, who's here with us. Good morning on a very good Tuesday morning where we're celebrating the doling of another $100,000 US dollars.
And I'm wearing green.
I can see, he's wearing, yeah, this is teal.
No, this one.
This is not
You people some of you are really colorblind. Like this.
I can see. It's like
No,
green.
this is
though.
green.
It's blackish
This is
green.
proper
Okay,
grey.
this is deep green.
This is proper grey.
It's
There is
deep
no
green.
green inside.
Okay, this is green.
It's not grey. It's not teal.
Can we get to the newspaper?
Okay, let's get to the paper.
Okay, let's get to the paper.
Regardless, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It's so good to have you.
My pleasure, Joe.
Let's start with the punch.
Let's go to
the punch.
The picture you see there is of the victorious tigress. I mean, we will soon run out of animals. It was falcons the other day. Now it's tigress. I remember Republic of Benin. They had to change the name of their male national team from squirrel. They say it was unbefitting of a imagine squirrels of Benin, and they used to match them every time. So they had to change it to a lion, a wild animal.
And despite changing to wild animal,
they still chop it. Okay. So the government, I mean, it's been in celebratory mood. The government is doling out dollars, even though they say Nigeria first policy, left, right, and center. So they did to the tigress what they did to the falcons, to the falcons. So it shows some consistency, and it shows appreciation of the great work, and celebrating what this wonderful girls have done. But as usual, it's elicited different reactions in different quarters, saying, look, at this point in our nationhood, should we be doing this? Why don't you overhaul the entire sports system, the administrative part, and create more means for young girls, grassroots girls, to come up? We'll touch on that, but let's also look at the other headlines. Countdown to 2027, Ghana, Baraje McCarthy in tight race for PDP chair. And what you could deduce from there is that the PDP chair has been zoned to the north. The neck divided over Damagun's fate. Wike plots counter moves as PDP convention drama unfolds. So the FCT minister is still a very important and huge part of the People's Democratic Party, even though he's a minister under an APC government. We also have arrears crisis, protesting ex-soldiers pressure federal government with Friday deadline. They had issued a deadline saying, please pay us all our arrears and everything that is due to us by Friday. Afrexim Bank leads $4 billion refinancing loan for Dangote refinery. And here's a big one, states versus discos, because we've seen some states grant discounts or reduce the tariff rates, and disco said, no, you can't do that. So the power courts begin over tariff impasse. They say when two elephants suffer, it's the grass. When two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. So citizens of those states should be expecting blackouts. States defiant vow to dismantle grips. Disco's grip amidst Enugu blackout. So the Enugu guys are saying, look, you can't give this discount. You don't have the power. So they decided to turn off the lights. FAC to recover 101 billion naira from customs after audit report. And $160 million, Vietnamese police arrest 2 Nigerians and 5 accomplices. Okay, so those are the headlines. But let's start with the Afro Basket champions, the latest, doing it 5 times in a row. I'm sure you have quite a lot to say about this. And of course, the $100,000 gift each, flats and a national honor of OON, Officer of the Order of the Niger.
Well, again, I think it was last week, Joe, that we discussed the Falcons.
Absolutely.
So, as they say, what is good for the Falcons is also good for the Tigers. But, you know, it is good. These ladies are winning the title for the 5th time consecutively. If you add all their winnings, this is the 7th time they are winning the trophy. So it is a milestone, a significant milestone. And they deserve to be celebrated as they have been celebrated. But like I also said last week, and it was as if I knew this was coming, because I said what was done to the Falcons is like setting a bar, and it's going to be problematic coming below that bar. So it is now as if anybody who wins any kind of trophy for Nigerians, or for Nigeria, the benchmark now is $100,000, a flat in Abuja, and national honors. The question, like I also asked last week, is this sustainable? Can we afford to be this spendthrift? A country that claims it has no money, and in real terms, it has no money. Because we are borrowing much of these funds that we seem to be throwing away. Look, there must be a reward system put in place that will take care of everybody. It is ironic that at the same time we are doling out $100,000. And don't forget, this may well be just the beginning. Because if you also remember what happened with the Falcons, the Governors Forum did theirs.
Exactly.
And then the governor of Imo State has also done another reward for the 7 players who are from Imo State.
And then there's Adamawa State.
Adamawa also did for the coach.
Even Ondo State, just yesterday.
Ondo State did for 2 of the players from Ondo State. So, look, the impression that we get is that this is a government that is latching on everything, having not much to celebrate. It is therefore playing politics with these largesse to be seen as being populist. This is not how to run a government. What if tomorrow the cricket team wins the World Cup, for instance? That means we are going to do $200,000, because if $100,000
at the African level
is at the African level, that means anybody who wins at the global level is going to get at least $200,000. Is this sustainable? Ironically, at the same time that this money is being splashed, retired Nigerian soldiers were protesting in front of the Ministry of Finance for payment of their entitlement, post-retirement entitlements. That was exactly also what happened last week.
With the police.
The police, retirees, we are also protesting the paltry sum that is paid to them. A retired assistant inspector, ASP, Assistant Superintendent of Police, takes home $2.5 million as gratuity after 35 years of service. Yet, we are in a country where someone serves, in quote, as a governor. He has stolen so much money in the 8 years or the 4 years he has served as a governor and has secured his future. Yet, he will come up with a pension benefit that will still take care of him, his family, for the rest of his life. So there is something fundamentally wrong with the reward system. And we cannot go on like this, where those encouragers of power see national team, see the treasury as their own money that they can dole out at will.
I mean, when we started the show, this was the conversation that we had, and my perspective was that, again, I mean, you've done a comparison with these gifts being given out vis-a-vis the current reality of Nigerian soldiers. I was saying, even looking at the sports sector, this is an industry where, at least oftentimes, we hear stories of them running in dark stadiums, where some of them come to protest on paid salaries.
Lack of facilities.
You know, they have to pay for their gear out of pocket.
Sports administration is a mess.
So, are we celebrating the end result, but failing to contribute to the process that leads to this end result? Are we creating an ecosystem for sports that allows young Nigerians to thrive not just here, but represent us on the global scale. Not that they will live here, go and represent other countries, and then we'll bring other people. I mean, there are very talented young Nigerians who would want these opportunities, but would rather work for other countries, represent other countries, because they feel like they'll be adequately remunerated if they represent these other countries.
Well, to be fair, most of the players in this D-Tigress thing all came from abroad.
Exactly.
Sponsored themselves. Sponsored themselves. They used to buy their kit. I don't know about this particular tournament, but before now, they buy their kits. They do everything for themselves. So what are you doing going forward to create institutions, to create facilities that will help in the training of the stars of tomorrow? What we are celebrating, it is good.
Right.
Like you said, that these guys may as well choose to play for any other country. But patriotism drove them back here at a time when people like Kemi Badenoch is out there bad-mouthing Nigeria and Nigerians every day, saying she has nothing to do with
the slightest opportunity.
Nigeria. We have ladies who, if they want to, look at the lady, the plum tail of Ashley.
Yes.
Of
the Falcons.
Something.
Of Falcons. These are people who, if they say they don't have anything to do with Nigeria, but she chose to side with us rather than being out there. Whereas those who grew up here until they were 16 said they don't have anything to do with Nigeria, even when they are answering
the Nigerian name.
That should be the next step. She should actually go and change her name.
Kemi.
We'll come to talk. Let's pause for a bit. We have a call from Bauchi. We have Samuel calling from Bauchi. Good morning, Samuel. Oh, we seem to have lost that.
Kemi should change her name to Catherine Badenoch.
Catherine Badenoch.
Yes.
So, but this is not about Kemi. All I am saying is just not to make the point that these ladies are worth celebrating because they have brought honors to this country. And a country that is desirous of something to celebrate, when all these flashes come, you can see the euphoria, you can see the enthusiasm out there. We are euphoric, we want to celebrate them, and we are glad they are giving us something to be happy about. In a climate where all you get is bad news, 100 people murdered in their sleep, this, so that we are getting something that pulls us on the spotlight and people are celebrating us is something we must celebrate. But the point is $100,000 the way to go?
Okay.
And what happens tomorrow going forward? Have we set a standard that any other person who wins award on behalf of this country at the continental level must go home with $100,000, a flat in Abuja,
and the
OON? Can we sustain it?
Food for thought. Okay, let's take another paper. Let's go to the Vanguard now and see what the stories there are. I already know one story I want us to take, but of course the Tigress is the big story. Project Tinubu has been fair to Southeast Umar. He says this is of course in response to the marginalization claims, marginalization in terms of appointment as well as project distribution. US to international students will revoke your visa if you skip classes and leave program. Now, wow. You go drink water, drop cup, so. Okay.
No, but I mean, if your parents have paid so much money to send you abroad as an international student, why should you be skipping classes?
Because...
Anyway, but they are badly behaved children, so it's good that that threat is there.
APC, ADC, bicker over attacks on Atiku, El Rufai, Obi, Amechi, ex-soldiers shut down finance ministry. Olubadan in council endorses Ladoja as 44th Olubadan. PDP crisis temporarily over, Wike declares. Flash floods ground Lagos businesses paralyzed. WASP results, only 38.32% of candidates passed English and maths. So what happened to the remaining slightly over 60%? Smear campaign against Ojulari aimed at derailing oil sector reforms, says group. Ojulari resumes work amid resignation rumor. That is the story we'll be starting with. But we have a phone call coming in this morning. Good morning, Osas. Thank you very much for calling from Port Harcourt. Please go ahead with your comment.
Good morning, Oli. Good morning, Benga. Good morning, Johan.
Good morning, Osas.
Thanks.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. My test is just a question for Babajide Sanwo-Olu, sorry. You know, the other day, Peter Obi was making some remarks about Nigeria, and Babajide Sanwo-Olu came hard on Peter Obi, telling him that he should stop the marketing Nigeria. So I don't know if he has issued a statement regarding Kemi Badnoch, who has consistently been tarnishing the image of Nigeria. So this is how they promote this tribalism. Because Kemi Badnoch and the Yoruba, I have not heard from Babajide Sanwo-Olu issuing a statement regarding her statement concerning Nigeria, but he was able to respond to Peter Obi and told him he should stop the market in Nigeria.
All right. Thank you very much.
So, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Osas. We try very much not to encourage conversations that go along ethnic and tribal lines, stating that. But I'm going to have you respond to that. You know, he's saying that the governor
should be consistent.
He should be consistent in calling out Kemi Badnoch in the way that he called out Peter Obi for demarketing Nigeria. And he thinks that is a thing of tribe.
Olive, you know, we have our issues in Nigeria. I wish we could go away from the issue of ethnicity, the issue of religion, and face the existential crisis that is facing us. Hunger has no religion, it has no ethnicity.
Absolutely.
Poverty has no religion, it has no ethnicity. Bad governance affects all of us, whether you are Yoruba, you are Igbo, you are Hausa, you are a Shekiri, you are a Ijaw. So, I think what we should do, which we are not doing, and we are allowing our political elite to divide us along ethnic, tribal, religious lines. But incidentally, when they are sharing the money, when it comes to corruption, they have all sorts on the table. They don't discriminate. They only discriminate when they want to get our votes. That's when they will tell you, so person does not look like you, or does not behave like you, or his religion is not the same, and therefore you're not going to allow him to vote here and all that. But while they are there sharing all the money, people are taking their part of the loot. The common man on the street is left high and dry. We are all buying things in the same market. We're all buying fuel. I've not seen any filling station. I may be wrong. We have people driving and they say, okay, if you are an APC member, or if you are Yoruba, or if you are Igbo, we are going to sell at a lower rate.
No, you are not wrong.
Than this other person. So let us not allow ourselves to be used as guinea pigs in the evil experiments of the elite, dividing us every day. Let us look at what matters most. Look, and I made reference to it last week, and I'm going to say it again. Let us even go back to these falconers and
the tigress.
The tigress. Nobody cares where the players come from. Out there on the pitch, they are Nigerians. Competence trumped ethnicity. Competence trumped religion. The coach of the Super Falcons is from Adamawa State. Most of the players are from everywhere. But what mattered most The coach did not say, because I'm from Adamawa, let me rig it so that 20 of the players will come from Adamawa State or will come from Northeast. No.
No quota system.
He worked with Nigerian ladies who delivered. Competence was the in thing, and it paid off.
Absolutely.
So why is it that when it comes to leadership, we don't follow the same template? We go, this is my brother, this is my sister, whether they are qualified or not, and we expect that we're going to get a result that is different from what we are getting. It won't happen.
Okay, let's hear from Sylvester. He's calling from Abuja. Good morning, Sylvester. Please go ahead.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My little contribution this morning concerning this national interest of Super Falcons and the female basketball team. It's something that is not really too comfortable. Fact is, if you check the current economic situation in this country, such huge amounts of money shouldn't just be spent that in the name of players or countrymen and women that have gone out to just spend maybe 1, 2, 3 weeks, at most, let's say 6 months. Then you are giving them this huge amount of money. It's a national disgrace. It's not economically balanced to check what is really happening in the country. People are suffering. People are really suffering in this country. And you just wake up in the morning and say, this amount of money has been given to people like that. No, it can't be so. I'm not saying they shouldn't be given something, no. But you consider others. Now, even if you check the military men, the police or security agencies that follow them from the airport down to their hotel or wherever they've gone to, if you check how much of their allowances was given to them, you will discover that it is uncalled for. It's not something to write home about. I can bet you that the security men and women that follow them from wherever they are coming from down to wherever they've gone to for this national honor and whatever, if you check their allowances for the day, it was not even paid, it was not given to them. But you discover that why would we have security lapses? That is why corruption will not end in this country. Because we are not doing these check and balances as the way you ought to do it. You don't use some people as scapegoats while others are enjoying. No. Nigeria belongs to everybody. Okay. I'm feeling of Nigeria.
All right, Sylvester. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks for your summation. Thank you.
Your thoughts.
All right.
Okay, I want us to quickly move on from this so we can touch on other stories. And let's talk about Bayo Ojulari. There were reports about him having resigned from the NNPC. Remember that he was appointed on the 2nd of April 2025. Now, what had made this even more complicated is that their corporate communications officer had also resigned June 21st, 2025. So getting an official communique might have posed a challenge. So against the backdrop of all the speculations of him resigning, it is reported that he has resumed. He resumed 9:35 a.m. at work yesterday, laying to rest the speculations of his resignation. And a group has said it's a smear campaign against him. The other speculation we heard was that he actually did resign, but they said, Omo, go back there. You can't embarrass the presidency. So these are some of the things we've heard in the grapevine, but let's get your thoughts on this.
My thought on that is that the corruption in the oil sector did not go away with the exit of Mele Kyari. It has always been there, and it will continue to be there. If you know, I have a friend who works on the corridors of power right now. About 3 or 4 weeks ago when I was in Abuja and we were discussing, and he said, look, if you know what is going on in the oil industry, you will cry for this country. So whether it is Ojulari, whether it is Mele Kyari, whether it is Dizene, Alice Madeke, the rot is still there. I have said it here once. Don't forget that late Muhammadu Buhari, as president, was also oil minister for 8 years. Don't forget that right now, the Minister of Petroleum Resources is no other person than President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So they know the game they are playing. Of course, in all those days that the rumor was out there that Ojulari has been forced not to resign, there was no forceful statement from the presidency saying this is not true. And of course, there was nothing from the NNPC. They know the game they are playing. These guys are playing with Nigerians. And this is what upsets me when I see the ordinary man on the street who does not know what the issues are, trying to defend the indefensible. Look, we are all victims. We are all victims of a system that has refused to live above board. We are all victims of a system that has refused to prioritize common good. We are all victims of a system that does not lay any stock on accountability. We are all victims of a system that thinks we ought not to exist, we ought not to live. And the only thing we can do is, as a people, to come together and say no to this nonsense, because we are all losers at the end of the day. The people who are doing all these things are not more than 1,000 of the entire so-called 200 or 200 something million people. So we must come together to say, let people with conscience, let people who mean well for this country drive this country. It is not a question of he is my brother. What are you benefiting if he is your brother? Obasanjo was president for 8 years. Ota Road was not done. Jonathan was president for almost 6 years. There was no pipe-borne water in Bayelsa. Not to talk of Otueke. The East-West Road was not done. So, this idea that he is my brother, whether he is, Buhari came and they said, even if it is, let it be Buhari. What did the average person in the north benefit from that Buhari was president for 8 years? Poverty increased in the north in the 8 years that Buhari was president than it was when other people were there.
Okay, let's take a call. We have David calling from Benue State. Good morning, David. Thank you for calling. Please go ahead with your comment.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Can you turn down the volume of your TV set so we can have a proper conversation as it's interfering?
Yes, I've done that.
Thank you.
Yes. My take on the issue of super falcons and that of the ladies that won Afro basket is that one thing I would like to talk about is that the reward given to this set of ladies. The reason why I said so is that, our sportsmen who have been representing one competition or the other have been suffering a lot due to lack of support from the government. But my problem, like the guest on the station said, is that this.
All right, David. David, unfortunately, we'll have to let you go. I don't think your network is that clear enough for us to hear you. But let's go to our final story. Surprisingly, I don't know how we did it, but we're out of time. I'm like, how? Daily Independent, 712 billion naira outrageous for airport renovation. Aviation experts say ask federal government to concession airport to engage in PPP. MMIA full renovation, most expensive in the world. Clear sign of government wickedness to the people, Labour Party says. What's your take on that?
My take on that is that it is the same thing that we said about the 15 trillion naira of Lagos Calabar coastal road.
And the commission 30 kilometers.
The money we budget for the building of infrastructure in this country is always the highest in the whole world. 716 billion naira can build a brand new airport in any other country.
Well, they say they are tearing this down to carcass level, and
it can do more than that. But the question that has also been asked, did this go through
due process, open bidding?
Due process, and where is this money coming from?
They said it's from subsidy of fuel. And the question I asked yesterday was, so how much has Nigeria saved from subsidy?
And was it budgeted for? Was it part of the appropriations that were made by the National Assembly?
Important question.
Wherever the money is coming from, whether it is from money from subsidy, it must be appropriated. Where is this money coming from? All these nebulous accounts of renewed hope
infrastructure development fund,
blah, 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 they are all avenues. Election is coming up in less than 2 years. I dare say, I may be wrong, but I need to be proved wrong. These are all avenues of getting money to run elections for 2027. And again, is it a priority? In a situation, we have seen schools, only 38.2% of students that sat for WASC passed 5 papers, including English and mathematics. Last year, it was 72.8%. This year, it has come down. And
meanwhile, the APC, sorry to interrupt you, the APC youth leader just opened a gaming center, snooker and PS5 for Nigerian youths to come and spend time.
It's for networking.
We are getting our priorities wrong. In a country where nurses embarked on a warning strike because of poor conditions of service and the rot in the health sector. Our education is not moving up. Our health sector is a mess, and we are devoting 712 billion
naira
for a single airport in Lagos. Look, we must be sincere to ourselves. We are lying to ourselves as a people, as a country, and I watched Festus Nakayamo yesterday on TV, and I wish the people had asked him, what happened to the shovel and this thing that in Buhari's administration, the 700 and how many thousand Nigerians, they said they were going to empower about 3 or 4 years ago. What happened to that project? How many people were empowered? What happened to the money that was budgeted? I hope this airport won't go the same way. We are not serious. Nigerians must rise up and demand, as of right, accountability from those who call themselves our leaders. Otherwise, this nonsense will continue.
And that's where we put the pin on today's conversation. We'll resume again tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. Thank you to our viewers on YouTube, our viewers on television, as well as our guests who have joined us physically and virtually. Continue to engage with us on social media at News Central TV. We'll see you tomorrow. I am Olive MOD.
And I'm Joe Hansen. Thanking you for watching.
And I'm Benga Bora. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.